Okay, here we go. We're going to go ahead and test. Test. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 1, 2, 3. It sounds fine in the chambers. Want to make sure that level is the same in the fun room. And make sure that Ariana doesn't talk to Janine ever again. 1, 2, 3. A, B, C. Excuse me. I'm talking too high. This is still the podium mic. 1, 2, 3. A, B, C on the podium mic. A little too close. Better get back a little. Podium mic test. A, B, C. 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at you in TV land. Keep going. Still checking that level. The state of the city is Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We are mandating all people to watch it online. If you come down here, we will summarily kick you out of the chambers. So please do not attend in person. And if you look very closely, you can see Teton Ken in this picture. Okay. Still testing that podium mic. ABC 1, 2, 3. Making sure there's no issues. Here's the schedule for CLI. That looks funny. Let me know if you want me to try the lavalier or the handheld so we can test that level as well. Test. This is the handheld mic. I'm walking through the chambers on the handheld, which sounds fine in the room, but I'm not sure how it would sound in your neck of the woods. Once again, we're glad you could be with us this evening on this January the 13th. Lucky number 13, 2021. You will notice, by the way, the new order of council seats because Miss Jennifer put in the name plates. Okay, now we're going to the lavalier. It mutes. Okay, awesome. Are we okay? Get anything further? Let's go. What's that? Where's your tablet? Oh. Yeah. I sent you the link so you can send to the beautiful. The lady, the man, the lady. One. Okay. For signage. That sounds very good. Okay, there's going to be a loud noise. Ari, hold on. Where's the turn this off? No, leave that on. Okay. Leave that on. Remember, you gotta have the receiver back on too, bro. Oh, good idea. Okay, so that is going to be a good mic. This is going to be the good mic. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I can hear it. This one's fine too. There she is. What? Okay, so we're good. working.
All right, there we
Just a
go.
slight delay back there, so you're
That's a
liable
good
to
thing.
see.
Okay, I'm sending you the YouTube link
So
to
you,
the,
do you have headphones for this?
I don't.
Oh.
So how are we going to do, well,
What about your iPhone headphones? Do you have any?
yes, I do.
Use those.
They're out in the car.
Oh, boy, really? Really?
Yeah.
With the interference?
Is that what that is? Oh. Maybe I'll have to do the handheld then. Or I could stay here. I could stay here.
I would
Good.
keep using that if it keeps working.
That's not just me, is it?
No, it's not the landing.
No. How did I do that?
Let me see the package.
It's blinking orange.
Yeah. What are you doing? You trying to steal anything?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Okay, you're embarrassing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, now you're just gonna break it.
Yeah, that'd go over well.
Okay,
Yeah.
and there are noise, so, okay, sorry. Okay, so let's try a different
Frequency.
you know. This is just killing my, I just said the frequency. Are you gonna be nice? It's the PD telling you.
The PD.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hello. Don't make noise.
As in.
Oh. Let me not forget. Because you're liable to see these batteries if these get a lot of use tonight.
Okay.
Usually the microphone pack is the first to go. But the two should get you through because I only have two. So it has to get you through. It has to.
So those old ones in there now, or are they new ones?
They're new.
Okay. Here's
Welcome.
little Tess. Hi, little Tess.
Have a seat somewhere.
See, I can still sit in my seat.
Should we leave them? Should we leave them off? Save the battery.
Do you want to test it one more time?
So, yeah, you know what, I think after we test it here, I would come back and turn them on
Yeah.
close to 6:30.
Okay.
You'll get a little bit of a static noise when they turn on, but.
Yeah, but once they're on, they
once
should be
they're on,
okay.
So you turn them on in order.
Okay. So
Turn that on first and then that one.
okay. Testing this lavalier mic there, Ariana. Just making sure you can hear it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn them off then until 6:30.
And Mr. Instructor, what did you say your name was? Would you repeat that again?
My name What's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and use the microphones, and we're all going to use the microphones, partly because, of course, as I had mentioned in previous communications, we are live streaming all the classes. So if any of you are not able to make it to a class or want to stay at home and are trying to be careful or trying to be a little safer on a particular night, there will be a YouTube link that we will send out right before the class, so make sure it stays private, that you can listen in on. And the plan will be, I will be sitting here, and if you go to the YouTube link for the class, you know, you can also type in comments. Well, that's where you can ask questions, and I will just relay the questions to the presenter or the instructor for that particular night. So keep that in mind. Now, like I said, the other thing is we're going to be taping all the classes, so anybody who misses a class, you can go back and watch it. So that's why we're going to use the microphones tonight to make sure that all audio is picked up. Okay, I think we're just about ready. Let me do that. A very pleasant good evening to you all. First of all, my name is Al Bravo. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Apache Junction. If you aren't reading your emails, you can probably see that at the bottom. This is the 2021 edition of the Citizens Leadership Institute. This is a series of classes that now date back 20 years. And Councilmember Tess Nesser, who's right here in the audience this evening, can tell you all about that because she was in the first one. And we're going to go back and find when that was. She was, of course, only 12 when she took that class, so it was a long time ago. And this is a class that I will tell you a little bit more about when we get a little farther along. I'm going to have a couple of our esteemed guests talk to you first, but we will talk a little bit about the history of the city and the history of this class and tell you a little bit about why this class exists. And this class exists for a number of reasons, not the least of which is to help the community understand how its local government works. For those of you who might remember social studies class, civics class, political science classes when you were in school, you might have an idea of, well, federal government, state government, local government. But Apache Junction has evolved in a little bit different way than other municipalities. So that's part of our history, and that's part of how we ended up where we are today. And so you'll learn a little bit about that. You're also going to learn a lot about all the different areas of the city and the city proper, the municipal government, as well as the community at large. But we traditionally start our CLI class with a little bit of a welcome. And the best person to do that welcome, of course, would be the leader of the community. And we have a newly elected leader of this community. So I am going to pass the microphone here to our newly elected mayor. He has served on the city council for 10 years? 10 years. And the last term, 2 of the last 4 years as vice mayor, or all 4 years as vice mayor? All 4 years as vice mayor. Was council member before that, vice mayor for the last 4 years, and was elected in November as mayor of the city of Apache Junction. And he has a long history in this community and served our country, and is a good Midwestern man who has made Arizona his home for the last 3 decades. So he can tell you a little bit about that, and like I said, welcome you to this wonderful class. So I give to you the mayor of the city of Apache Junction, Chip Wilson.
Now I have to remember to hold this up, so if I put it down, point me. Yeah. Well, first off, just like Al said, we want to welcome you to the class. It is a very informative class. It will help you better understand the workings of a city government and the different things that go involved into the city government. One of the things that I didn't have the privilege of attending the classes, first off, I didn't know about it before I ran for city council. But one of the things that I used to, when I'd sit in city council meetings, I'd say, why in the hell are you guys talking this over and over and over, beating a dead horse? You need to have making a decision and announce what your decision is. Little did I know, you can't do that. So that was a big learning aspect on me. As City Council, we have the abilities to, say, review different things that are coming before us. But one of the things that we cannot do is we can't get together ahead of time, you know, whether it's behind closed doors or sitting in a restaurant somewhere, and end up making a decision outside of the general public. So everything that we do is open to the public, and we definitely would like to get your inputs in constantly. We might not agree, that's fine. We all are citizens of the community, therefore we all can definitely get along. Now, a little bit about my background. Just kind of like Al was saying, that I am retired military, was Air Force for 22 years. Got to travel several countries, live in several countries, and traveled and lived in several states throughout the United States. So I had a, I'll say, diverse background in it. Prior to that, my dad was a minister, Baptist minister of all types of ministers. And we got to travel to several areas in the northeastern part of the United States. And got to be, seeing what was ongoing. And then he decided to get into the news business. And in Ohio, became a news reporter for a local TV station. And was working in there, and was heavily involved in the civil rights movements in the area. And that's where I got introduced to, if you don't like something, you need to speak up and talk. And no one's going to know what you think if you don't speak up and talk. And of course, I was one that said, I'll let someone else speak. I'll stand behind them. Now, I'm up there and I'm speaking, so. But I still look to the audience and to you as your inputs. When we retired from the Air Force, I had promised my wife, because she always wanted to have a horse, and she followed me. We lived in Turkey for 3 years, and she learned the aspects of how women were second-class citizens in Turkey, and just because she's driving the car, every Turkish driver had to pass her, and basically would almost run her off the road. So she learned that you drive, I'm not driving. And it was an experience. So I said, okay, we'll look for a place to have horses. We looked the eastern part of the valley out. I had a job out at Williams Air Force Base. And the only community, because I went to each community and asked them what their rules are for having horses and where you can have them. The only community that really gave me the information was Apache Junction. In fact, the individual said, first, I want to welcome you to Apache Junction. And it was the first one. So we are a community that we do work together. I love the community. Yes, I selected this community to move into over 30 years ago now. And we've enjoyed it and we'll continue on. This is our permanent home. It's something that we love. And yes, I've had an opportunity to leave one time when they closed Williams. And my son said, Dad, you can come and visit us whenever you want. So it was a family decision to stay on it. And again, I can't say I have an open door policy because I'm not always sitting upstairs. So if you come over and you want to come into my office, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be there. So I don't going to say an open door. Give me a call. Call me up, and we'll discuss whatever needs to be discussed on an issue or something that you're concerned about. And kind of think that's a little bit more about me. And again, it's a community that I love so much, and taking this course, you'll understand how the government works and get the opportunities to help out with what the city is doing. And I sure appreciate it. Appreciate you all for signing up and continuing on in serving. Does anyone have any questions of me? Whoa. Okay, there we are. Yeah, I was timed. That was my timing. You're done. Outside of Lima, Ohio, in a small community called Spencerville. And it was a opportunity for me to be in high school there in Spencerville. And my goal was at that time, I was going to be a farmer. And there was no way that you needed to have English for farming. So English was not my best subject. And I said, corn, doesn't care if you can spell corn correctly or not. Pardon? Yes? No, it's not. Yes, you're right. Okay. All right, well, anything else? Curious about me, my background? Okay. Turn it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Chip Wilson. I'm sure he's very excited about his first 100 days because just started last week, so I think we're down to like 93. I was remiss in doing some housekeeping. I should have done a little bit of housekeeping. The doors, of course, are going to be open here until we're done, and then you can still go out that door. If, for whatever reason, you need to run to the facilities, restrooms are right through that door. There's a women's and a men's right next to each other. Those are open as well, so you can do that, do whatever you need to do. If you get a call or if you need to leave on a moment's notice, please do so. We're all family here, so we'll take care of each other as best we can. I do try to remind everybody to mute your phones because even I'm bad about that. You know, I have my phone on 24/7 because that's the nature of the media relations guy. So you got to have it on all the time. So we'll have to be careful about that. Okay. Next, you ready? Here's a guy who's been with the city for 2 decades. It's another guy who started when he was 12. Been with the city for 20 years, started out as assistant city manager, and 6 years ago became city manager. Is that right, sir? Yeah. About that. And like I said, started in southeast Arizona and went to school in Utah and has some great experience in Texas before he came to Arizona, back to Arizona. And has been here since 2001, leading this city. And he will explain a little bit of how that works, the council manager form of government, to try to refresh your memory from the old civics class. The elected officials that are kind of like the board of directors, and then our CEO, who is the city manager of the city, much like it is in a lot of other cities, 91 of them, in the state of Arizona. So, without further ado, my boss, the city manager of the city of Apache Junction, Mr. Brian Powell.
He always says that about his boss, you know, it's Al. Very good. It's so nice to be with you. I love this night every year. It's exciting to be together. It's actually extra exciting to be together. Hope you feel comfortable getting together. And keep your, distance, and let's be smart about that. But, you think about the things in terms of, and sometimes we appreciate the sugar when we have the bitter. And so sometimes at the opposition or the opposite, we've had so much opposite. It's so nice to actually be in a room, right, Mayor and Al, to see residents gather and to be able to talk about some neat things. So I hope we can do some of that. Mal, I don't know if maybe when we ask questions, we could go and I can use this microphone and you can help me pass around. Because I hope we can have a little dialogue tonight about the city, or the great place that we choose to live. I always think about why, we could live anywhere, right? Why does someone come to our city? What brings them here? I often wonder, is it for work? Is it for pleasure? Is it to retire? Is it to be part of a community? Is it not to be part of a community? If it is, great. Well, how can we meet those expectations? In the council manager form of government, so let me tell you about myself first. My name's Bryant Powell. I'm a native of Arizona. My grandmother actually was one of the very first, so this University of Arizona thing may come up a little bit, but my mom and my grandma are both University of Arizona graduates, but I'm not. I'm a Southern Utah University graduate and then Brigham Young, but I don't know, does anybody know where Safford, Arizona is? Southeastern, really small rural area. Cotton farming, several prisons is their economy, and then mining. So when you think about, in my mind growing up, the 5 C's was a very big part of either my life or my friends' lives. They were either in the copper, or they were in the farming, or they were in the climate. And my parents were the school teachers of those who had miners and who were also cotton farmers. My mom taught home ec at Thatcher Middle School for over 35 years. I'm a son of a home ec teacher. And so it's amazing. I often wonder, and I remember going through a class about sewing and cooking and then goal setting and life prep, like how practical and how awesome those skills are. I talk to my kids. They don't have home ec. They don't even get a choice anymore. So that was that. My dad was a band instructor. He played the tuba, but was a band instructor over at Morenci High School and Duncan High School while we lived in Safford. So you may ask, like, how does somebody become a city manager? Even to this day, my dad doesn't know what I do. And I've had 20 years trying to explain it. And I'm like, it's very interesting, Dad, because some days I'm in the middle of having conversations about code compliance and how we have laws or why we would want to help our community work through issues related to private property rights. And then other minutes, I'm working on state land. So if you're following some of the things that have gone on in the city of Apache Junction, about a month ago, there was a sale of land that's really near our planning boundaries that we're getting ready to annex, that's 4 square miles, that's about 2,800 acres that a group of people purchased called D.R. Horton and Brookfield Properties for $245 million. Holy cow. Yeah, a lot of money. And so that's what it, that is a very, very big difference, in terms of my day-to-day. And so sometimes I say, like, I know a little about a lot of stuff, and it's very dangerous. So I always say, keep me out of it sometimes, because I can make it way worse. I have 3 daughters. We've raised them here in Apache Junction. They go to Apache Junction. 2 are graduated. One's at NAU and one's now going to Utah State, and the other one is at the high school here. And I couldn't be more happy about being a part of the community and raising them here. I always say Apache Junction's got the greatest of everything. If I want to go to a Suns game, I can. But if I want to go hike flat, or used to hike flat, hike that area, I'd go. It's world-class outdoors. And so I always think of it as the greatest place. And I hope that we'll have that vision to always keep it and stay organized enough to do that. And so anyway, that's a little bit about me. Now tonight I'd like to introduce a little bit about the council manager form of government. And Tess, you know the answer to this. I may have you. Are city elected officials, are the races that are set up for the mayor and council, are they partisan?
No.
That is correct. So, good. So the election for city elections are nonpartisan. That is by state law. That's not something that we get to choose or not choose. But Chip, do you like that? Tell us why that's been good to you in terms of your experience.
Well, I'm not going to be bound by any rules, whether it's a political party or anything involved into it. I'm totally independent of it and make my decisions based on independent and not be partisan in any way, shape, or form.
So are you saying that potholes don't have an R or D on them? Okay. So when I think about what we get to work to do, and I talk about why I'm excited about local government, I want to tell you a little bit of a story about myself. When I was 19 years old, I got the opportunity to live in South America, and in Ecuador. So if you want to speak Spanish to me, I love to practice. I don't get to practice it enough. But I lived there, and I had to learn 1, new language, 2, lots of different music, 3, lots of different foods, lots of different ways of thinking, and I really, really liked it. But one of the things I learned fast was that we are so blessed. Growing up in Safford, never once did I turn on that faucet and ever think that I was ever have to worry about cholera. I'd never even really heard the term cholera. Now remember, Safford is Safford. Has anybody, been there? I mean, it's not, it's a great place. It's an awesome place, but it isn't, like super extravagant, but it is safe water, number one. I never worried once. Where I flushed my toilet, never even thought twice about that. When I turned on a switch, a light switch, came on. Traffic signals, traffic lanes, police, dispatch, order. I'm like, I get down there and immediately I notice, first of all, no one's obeying any traffic laws. The next thing I notice is the word cholera. What do you mean? There's no running water? And I just thought, well, wait a minute. What did my ancestors do? What did they create to be able to have the ability for us to do this? And that sparked in me a desire to figure out, well, what did they do? And so that led to me in this world of budgeting and in finance and what I call, it's a term called intergenerational equity, and it's basically a social contract over generations called bonding. We don't talk a lot about this now, but the ability to do 30 years to 50 years worth of infrastructure improvements for water safety, or to do water quality sewer, or our streets that last that long, is bond finance, or long-term ability to go get money and get debt, and then a promise that this generation that's here will pay some of it, but the users in future years will also pay some of it. And because of those decisions, we're able to have those, I would call them necessities in terms of those needs, because it was way different, the quality of life in Ecuador. And so that's a little bit about how I kind of was like, well, then I get back and I'm like, and living in the United States, and I'm like, well, who makes those decisions? Is that a federal government decision? And it really got me in going to political science of like, well, is it state government decisions? Well, as I went along my path, I learned quickly that it's the mayors, it's the councils, it's the day-to-day people that we know. And then I found out that's really where the fun stuff happens. And yes, we do watch a lot what the media puts in front of us about federal and state, and I get that. But man, I talk to my kids about this. I'm like, what impacts you day to day? It's these decisions. So for me to be to have you here and be interested in our community, to keep it going this way is essential. So I thank you for coming, and I thank you for being part of our community and wanting to learn more about it, because every year we have boards and commissions, right? And every mayor and city council, almost all of them started as a board and commission member. Tess, how many years before being a city council member were you a volunteer?
I was the first CLI 20 years ago, and I've been a volunteer since.
Volunteer, boards and commissions, P&Z, in all different ways. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. But I've just noticed over time that as folks get involved in local government, they have the ability to create influence, give chip. Like, I'm serious. Mayor, I've known him, 16 years probably, and he's one of the greatest listeners I've ever seen. Just listens, and that's the aspect of just learning and being around folks and really trying to understand why they would feel the way they do about the different items that come up here. Okay, so the council manager form of government in Arizona is common in the United States, but not all of them are. So when you hear like LA, Chicago, Houston, New York, Philadelphia, almost all the big cities, they have what's called a strong mayor form of government. And in that case, every time the mayor changes, they literally change can have the ability to change out their department directors, they can change out the police chief, and it's like more like I would call like that type of system. In our system, in the Arizona, Texas, and I would say most everywhere west of the Mississippi River, is this form called council manager, where a team works together. Because the issues are often nonpartisan, like we talked about, you don't necessarily need to have a constant changeover in the staff. So in this case, in our case, our elected officials really help give guidance on what I call the big policy, the budget. So for example, we sit down every April and we start working from April to June, July, with the city council on how the budget is set up. And they will tell us, and in our lessons, I don't know who's coming, or our CLI, other department directors will come in, and I'll talk a little bit about the departments. But these departments are based on the priority areas the council gives the city manager. So I'm one of 3 employees that's on a contract. The city attorney, who is kind of like our legal, he is the legal advice for the city, and the client is the city. Me, Bryant, I'm the city manager, and I'm on a contract, which means that at any given point, they don't want me. Just like I used to call the George Steinbrenner over the Yankees, it's time to change out the Yankee manager. You can do that. As long as 4 of them, there's a reason for that. It helps keep some of that checks of power. Like, my contract is with them. And then I help implement and execute, kind of like, I guess, like an executive branch, if you will, the legislative intent of our ordinances. So I need to know the ordinance, and then I get to carry them out, make sure the police chief and others. If, for example, they aren't doing a very good job, the department directors, then I'm right in I call it stuck between the dog and the fire hydrant. It can be kind of tough for a city manager. Most city managers only last 5 to 7 years, something like that. So, and the third employee that's a contract is the judge, the court, the judicial system. So the mayor and council have the ability to, at any point, make changes quickly or swiftly in those 3 arenas: the attorney, the city manager, and the judge. And then what do they ask of me? With the judge, you carry out the judicial part. It's separate. We keep the building separate. In fact, I hardly ever get involved in once the maybe a regulation has been, a ticket's been given. That's not now it's in the courts. But they asked me to hire and fire the department directors and then implement the vision of the city, which is, and I will get these to Al. You guys got notebooks, right? All right, so today isn't the day anyway. Apache Junction is a diverse community of natural beauty and heritage that offers prosperity, compassion, and forward thinking to its residents, businesses, and visitors. So our vision is high. It's where we want to go. It gives us some guidance on, our heritage, which we really, if you've had a chance to be over at City Hall, we just got to use it this week. We have a horse stall. What was the best name, Chip? Horse stall. It's got 2 places for. It's really nice. It's got we're fixing one of them, but it's got a little place where the horse can, get water, and we use it every once in a while, and Chip uses it more than others. But the idea was to encourage and have a consistent and constant reminder of our heritage, of our horse community, the equine community. And in that, we also wanted to encourage, if any of our employees live close by, that they could ride their horse to work. So when we first built this building 15 years ago, we had an employee in the city attorney's office that during the winter months, mostly Marianne Coyne, she would bring her horse. And so, alternative mode of transportation. Doesn't always have to be, it's to help us think a little different. It doesn't always have to be an electric vehicle. Doesn't always have to be what we may think of as alternative mode. Bicycle would be great, right? More of that. Anyway, so that's a little bit about the vision. Anybody want to try to name some of the departments that are in the city right now? Some of the major departments that we have in the city government. Police is the biggest, yep. Water. Water is an interesting one. How many have Arizona Water and how many have AJ Water? AJ Water. AJ Water, okay, Arizona Water. If you don't know, we'll help you know by the end of the session. So those numbers are about right. 2/3 of the territory, the geographic territory of Apache Junction city limits are is Arizona Water Company. Arizona Water Company predates the city. It got their geographic boundaries way before we were a city, almost around post-World War II. And they went to the state government, and they were able to get their certificate of needs. People started moving out here and said, hey, we need water. So there was a rural, for-profit company that was providing service in the Mesa area, and they brought their extended water lines out here, and they created this Arizona Water Company. And so they service as a utility that northern part. I call it it's not just the northern, but it kind of is the northern area of the city. And then Apache Junction Water came in later, post-1996, and was we had some water failure. I don't know if you guys knew that, but we had several small package water treatment or water plants fail. Came to the city government and said, hey, we need to combine them. We went and got bonds. We got into debt, $9 million that we paid off. But now we have our own water company that now, if you ever gone over Ironwood Road south and go over the bridge at the canal now, If you look to the right, you'll see the Apache Junction water treatment plant. And if you look to the left, you'll see the sewage treatment plant. It's kind of interesting how they're fairly close geography-wise. So that's kind of how those water utilities work together. Parks and Rec, library, development services, animal control, we call it paws and claws, is under the police department. What about the how should I say that? The fire, what about fire? How are fire services provided here? Different district. So unique, very unique part of local government is that the fire district predates the city. So when the residents had kind of been big enough and they were trying to figure out what they needed most, they decided that we first, before they wanted to be a city, they created a board to become, that's not me. They become the fire board. So if you own property here in the city, then you pay a property tax to the Pinal County, Central Arizona Community College District, which is CAC, Superstition Fire Medical District, Fire Services, and Apache Junction Unified School District. Those are the property tax districts or boards in the city of Apache Junction. You'll see a line there that says City of Apache Junction, and it's 0. We've yet to go out and do a bond or an election to do a property tax. We've been able to manage what we do through a 2.4% sales tax. Every time you go to Walmart, you'll notice that number is like around 9.4-ish, 9.8. Of that number, so a big chunk of it is the state, 6%. Another chunk of it is the county, about 1.5%, and then 2.4, only 2.4 of that comes back to your local government to provide these services that we're talking about. Okay, so those are some of the departments that we work with. We're going to be bringing in those departments very soon in the CLI. I just wanted to highlight a couple elements of the form of government. One of the benefits of having a city manager can help with kind of what I call raising the red flag on financial issues. We're constantly in the budget, we're constantly in the financials, and so we need to be the staff to help bring those issues forward if there are starting to be issues around the corner. And that's a professional staff kind of duty. If you always leave that to the political part, sometimes that could be, something that has become issues because you can overspend or overcommit, and then it's because of political reasons, not because maybe true financial sense. We like to think, Al, that we're good at constituent responses, right? So in the Public Information Office, the City of Apache Junction has 2 employees, Al Bravo and Matt McNulty, and we do our darndest, and we've always had 2, and I don't know how much I want to get into this, but one of my favorite things and least favorite things in the world is social media. So what I mean by that, it's a beautiful tool. It's great for access. It's a wonderful tool, and it's not, it gets things out there very quickly, and we, sometimes it's tough because some things will get out there fast and it spreads like wildfire, and we have just us, and it's constantly, the city of AJ has 7 different, if we just talk Facebook, that's not Twitter or any of the other social media forms, but just in the Facebook world, we have 7 different forms of communication that we push out that are official. Paws and Claws, Parks and Rec, Library, some of the departments, we all have someone who helps, and I encourage you to sign up if you do social media. I would like it if you would sign on to our official work, and that way you can see the official word and then promote that out there. Then there are what I call chat rooms, I guess is the word, or other forms that are not official, but they, certainly can make significant impact. And we saw that most recently in anything that could come up that's dealing with council, the rumors will just get out there about, so for example, the city of Apache Junction and trying to manage who's in the trash contract. You guys remember the trash issue? And who's outside of it? And trying to imagine who is really going to be having to sign in. Well, it's really hard when people that are even east of Power Road on Chrisman Road have an Apache Junction address. Or of course, on Mountain View, and all of that has to do with postal codes and how people receive their post office. Well, the media and what I call just lack of understanding, that's why CLI is so important, that we need to make sure those who know really know the map of where the boundary is. I remember people even not knowing who they could vote for. I'm in Apache Junction. How come I can't vote for Mayor Surtee? This goes back. I'm like, well, what's your address? And they say 37 South Mountain View Road. And immediately I know, oh, that's just east of our limits. You're actually not a citizen. And I use the word citizen because it's a really important word. A citizen is someone who is able to make the vote for here. And if you really understand that citizen, you understand where your taxes go, you understand your tax bill, and then you also can hold us or constituents and the mayor and council accountable on what we're doing with those dollars. So I'd like to think that what we do is we really help make that bridge happen. And I'm up for any advice on how to do better on social media. It is very new to me. I'm what they call a Gen Xer, a true Gen Xer. I still love to talk. And I still make mistakes on, do we jump in on this one out? Do we not? And people really do smear campaigns out there, and it's hard to, I don't know. But we are doing better. We have a little symbol. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but we have a staff member. It's called the AJ, the little AJ. And so when we chime in as official source on social media, you'll see a little black and gold Apache Junction or an AJ. That's when it's usually Al, right? Or maybe someone from our office that can do that. I would like to stop at this point and ask you, and if you have any questions of me and the mayor, I would love to try to answer those. One of the things that we love to talk about this point in CLI is usually the thing that a lot of residents like to learn about is what I call zoning issues or development in the city. So I referenced the state land department, and I could tell you that's been a 15-year get our hopes up high for something that they'll sell the land and not. You may ask me some questions about that if you have any, or sometimes just like things that happen in the city. So like sometimes residents, so for example, right now, we're doing a code compliance effort for commercial properties to get cleaned up. So police department, one of their biggest complaints when they're out at night that they get from residents. So one of my favorite places to describe this problem is over by Walmart. So Walmart is a place where a lot of people like to go and take their stuff. They have a lot of stuff, and it's easy to get, and they will go. People will go into and they'll steal, and they'll put stuff on the inside. And so the property that was just west of Walmart, there's a fence there, and over the last year or so, it's been totally cleaned up. But the police officer would tell us we can't even shine our lights in there and see what's going on if someone's doing anything bad. And so we've been working hard to work with our local businesses to help clear off some of the land. So that the police can be able to see very well in there. And so you may have seen like behind the Circle K here on Idaho and Superstition, it's cleared out behind there. We can use the drainage better. Off Southern by the high school and Ironwood, that's cleared off behind the Circle K. And there's a fence up, and everybody's asking what's going there, like what's going to be built there. And I have to say, just because it got cleared off doesn't mean it's getting built, so nothing. And so a lot of people get really worried about change, that we're changing too fast, and I get it. And I just want to say, well, some of this stuff isn't about change, it's just clearing off their property. But one of Mayor's major emphasis, as he calls it the Code of the West, is before you move in, make sure you know what the zoning is of that property. And what I mean by that is, we all love it here. Why did we come here? Well, for certain reasons. It could be, I wanted to be away from everything. Well, those same reasons are the reasons why other people keep coming. And then they want to be here, but then we want to make sure no one else comes, right? Growing up, I remember sitting out at Prospector Park, and I love it up there. My kids would play soccer there, and I'd put my hat on, and I'd just sit there and say, I hope no one else figures out what Apache Junction is. Because we do sometimes get this thing called a perception issue of, oh, Apache Junction's not this, or Apache Junction is this. And sometimes I go, well, they don't want to come, that's okay too, kind of a thing. Because it's kind of nice just being out here. The fact of the matter is, as people learn about it and they purchase land, if the zoning is there, to either put homes or to put commercial, they honestly don't even have to come to the city. They have to provide building plans, or they have to provide, because I always get the one, why did you guys let them build a big old tires? Yeah, or why did you, like, I have that power, or he has that power. And, or why did you, what is the other one test that always comes up? Is it Filiberto's? Why did you let a Filiberto's come in? And the reality is the government, and we don't want the government to have this power, is not, it is not a situation where we dictate, and I don't think you want to, right? What commercial comes in. We like this one, but we don't like that one. We do have the ability to say where we kind of hope to have residential, commercial, and industrial. And so we set aside areas in town for those to try to be a good blend and have it be diverse. But we haven't ever got in the business, and very few cities in Arizona do, and I don't think across the country, to say, now that we've got our discount tire, Big O, forget about it. It gets into a little bit of the capitalism, free market part, and Filiberto's bought the land. They think they can sell, I guess, more tacos. I guess, I don't know. It's as simple as that. And so the land is zoned commercial. They buy the land and they come into planning and zoning, and then they pull the permit, and then they're going. So we didn't decide if it was going to be a Wendy's or not. In fact, we didn't decide on Desert. What's the new bank? Mountain Credit Union. So that's how much I know about it, because they come in, they pull the permit, and they go. We don't get involved in that. But I think a lot of residents think we are in the middle of all of that. I hope that makes sense. This question. So Al, would you? Because we're
sorry. Briggs posted on Facebook like a month ago as a link letting you know what was impending. Is that on our website? Because I was trying to find it. Yep. It is. Okay.
Al, would you do me a huge favor? Will you send that link? Is one of the most, we've been working on that a long time. So we have a group called we have two people that work geographic information systems, and they're layers. What I mean by that, it's got the city map, and then it has, like, for example, like the developments that are going through the process. And it's a long process to go through, like planning, to go through preliminary plat, final plat, and then even to get what's called a certificate of occupancy is a long process. And they turn in submittals and then review them. How many have seen the sign that just went down recently on Idaho and Southern that said car wash coming soon? That sign was one of my most hated signs for 6 years. It was there forever. I even think it was there when Mayor Johnny was there. Why? Because I knew that there were going to be some limitations on that property. First of all, it's a skinny lot. But a private property owner can put a sign on their property anytime. And that's what they did. I think they were trying to engender like an excitement there. When they put that sign up, they thought, well, this will be easy. Well, it's also, at that point of Idaho Road, it's an ADOT road. ADOT's really hard to work with. And in fact, ADOT was requiring these major ingress and egress costs. And I think once they got going through the process, they realized, oh boy, we've really stepped in it. They needed a little bit more depth in the lot. And so we kept trying to say, take the sign down at least, because you're not sure yet. So those signs could be really misleading, and it means that there could be misinformation. And so this geographic system link, can we send this to our group here? And maybe even when Larry is here, can Larry go over that and show like how you can zoom in? And then, like, for example, last night at the Planning and Zoning Commission, there's a subdivision, it's a subdivision, housing subdivision that's being reviewed by the P&Z. And so it's on there, and you could click on it, and then you can see the plat itself. So everything started to become more digital and easy for us to upload. Well, the beauty of that, now it's hard to get that information out through Facebook because that's the knowledge of all things, that's the solid. But if we can get more people who know where that link is to send people there, then they can contact, because we take stuff off, like when Dutch Bros was coming in or others were getting built, it's being constructed. And so we change it. I forget the colors. There's like a blue that's in the planning phase, a yellow that's in the construction phase, or something like that. And so that's a really neat test. You use it a lot, right? Kind of just see on things, and that can help squash some of those rumors as well.
I'll make sure that he has some, he talks about the whole GIS site, because there's several maps on there that are of interest.
Yeah, maps are amazing to me. Maps also help you understand some of those issues of in-city, out-of-city, who you vote. I think it's just so important in terms of governance of who you can get to vote for and not. It's just really interesting to see how those layers work. Like the school district is way bigger than the city. The school district is everything east of Meridian Road, and same with the fire district. But the city is really much smaller when you look at that map. That's a great question. Thank you. Any others? Let's see. I'm trying to think what else to go over. Yeah.
So you talked about clearing of property and how you guys are going, working with the AJ Police Department to do that. You guys are going pretty fast, which is not common in many cities, of course. What prompts you guys to go so quickly, and why now after how many years? I've always wanted to know. I mean, I've seen lots of great improvements, so
Yeah.
obviously it's a good thing.
Right.
But just so I know what button I would need to push if I were to try to push something that quick. I'm just saying.
Couple things came together on that. So I call it a perfect storm. It's a combination of, over the years, I'd say the last few years, city council saying, hey, we need to update our city codes, we need to update our property maintenance standards, and then we need to update, the part of this same retreat, so when we did a strategic planning session of where our vision is, we want a safe community, we want a clean community, we want the vision that I said where people can come and feel. And in that process, they said we need to find out what our citizens say about how they feel about their community. And so we went and asked. And what we found out is there's more and more political support from our residents, meaning the people are starting to say, and I hope that's okay, I share this example, Chip, I use it because you're here tonight, but they're starting to say they're not okay with what's next door anymore. So here's what I mean by that is they're calling us, and instead of saying, hey, instead of us always having to be the proactive person to go in and, hey, this isn't okay, we're getting more and more calls from residents calling us saying, what my neighbor has, all these junk vehicles or all this mess, we want you to do something about it. About 3 years ago, Mayor Wilson had a visit from a resident who said that he had just been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he was and I would say, I'll just say in his 80s, I don't know, and his wife was a few years right around there. And he was wanting the mayor to know, as elected official, that he is trying to get things in order to be able to sell his home. As he's gone to the realtor to sell the home, they are asking for what they thought was the market rate. Let's just say $250,000. After a few times of people coming and seeing the property, of course, what do we do whenever we buy property? We always look to what's next door, right? And so what had happened was the feedback they were getting is that this isn't okay. Then if we'll buy it, but we want to buy it for $220,000 because we're going to have to deal with this. When that happened 2 or 3 times, I think that resident got tired and talked to the mayor and just said, what are we going to do about this? What can you do to get going on this? So we've received at the staff level more support, I would call it, to start dealing with some of these issues. And in terms of the commercial properties that are more visible than the residential ones that we've seen on some of these corners, one of the things that happens every monsoon year is drainage in the city of AJ. We're on the alluvial plain of the mountains, and we do not have what's called a stormwater utility. Some cities have a utility that deals with all the stormwater that comes off. We've yet to get into that business. However, we do have an ordinance that we need to keep our washes clear, and especially the ones that are called 404 washes that are in the FEMA flood zone. And so we're working with property owners to do better to try to help keep the water flowing through AJ. So all of these elements of political will, residents that are letting us know that needs to change, in our update of our code compliance or our codes, and the drainage issues have just said, hey, we need to get going on it. And so we have we went and got a brand new code compliance manager for the first time ever. And he just started a few months ago. And he's been really working hard to help implement that. Let's see. Did that answer?
Good.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could explain the CEO level again, like you were talking about between council and just how that works again, if you could do that.
Certainly. So Al, I'm going to provide you tomorrow an org chart, an organizational chart of how it works. So if you think like if the residents are all of our, and the citizens of this city are all of our customers, they elect 7 members to be, in essence, a board. But this is a political board, so it's a city council. And then the city council hires these 3 individuals, the city attorney, the judge, and myself. My role is, in essence, I would say, to execute on to help implement the goals and objectives of the city council, the mission, to be the fiduciary or to be the one that's responsible over the finance department, to make sure that I report in annually and quarterly and whatever the council needs on budget, actual to budgeted. And so from a CEO standpoint, the chief executive officer, that's their role. They need to implement the mission of the city. They need to be able to set goals for our organization and then carry those out. And so I would say if you were to think about like another way to think of the city manager's office, when I tell my dad, I said, Dad, I'm kind of like air traffic control. There's so much information that comes in, and I just try to help stay super organized to help make sure that we either keep things moving or get things out of the way. If you look really close on a train, the front part of a train, there's this kind of a guardrail that's in front. And part of the role that does is to get stuff out of the way. And there's oftentimes just in general, so here's an example in our organization where we just might have organizations where they have like the engineer, we have an engineering department. Engineers, if you've ever worked with them, they want to, here it's black and white, let's get going. It's simple, it's math, Bryant, what are you waiting for? But I also have a planning department. We want to make sure we're planning. Well, one of the good sides of planners is they plan and think appropriately through things. One of the downsides of planners is that they plan to plan. Well, I can sit in a room with planners and engineers from our staff, and we can have conflict. It's good conflict, but it has to, at some point, we have to say, okay, based on all this, we're gonna get going. And so we'll, in the city, so I have an assistant city manager, his name's Matt Busby, and he's gonna, I had that role before for many years. He will come and talk a little bit about, he's the day-to-day operations person, and that's another role that we have in the city manager's office. Hope that helps you.
Anything more? Pam?
I've seen on the news in places that they have like a buyback of old mattresses, because that's one thing I see all the time on the side of the road. Is there any way that we can get involved in that so I don't see it when I drive by?
So nothing in my mind ruins the desert more than, I call it laziness, or people, we live in this beautiful desert, and we jump on those. I like to jump on those as quick as we can. I'm not familiar with any buyback mattress program, but I would love to learn about any, Al, so we could get involved in that. I know that one of the programs that we have that's very innovative, at least we think so, that's a kind of neat program within our municipal government, is our community service workers. So when some residents are unable to pay their fines or their ticket, they go to the judge and then they say, Judge, over time, he's like, I don't have funds to pay $150 or $250 fine. We have a program where people can work off that fine. And for us, and this is what we do, we have them pick up, they clean the police cars, they pick up trash, they go out and help us with that. For us, it's a win-win-win. Here's why. If we continue the process of litigation and do all the work that it takes to get them to be criminals and put them in jail, first of all, we have to go through all that process, more taxpayer money, staff to deal with that, and then we end up spending, I think now the county wants to charge us like $290 the first night, and then $130 each night. And then I would argue that I don't know what that really accomplishes for what we're doing here. We're a municipal government. What we found, Judge Hazel, he comes, right, Al? Do we get to have Judge here? Ask him about this program, because it's been for us a real. So what we think about when we're here as human beings on earth, we need human decency. We need to think about, how can we help someone out? And I've seen so many neat things happen where folks will come here in the morning, they go do a little community service, and then they feel, we can help them say, hey, you're doing great. Let's get you, ready for an employment. Let's get you, if you're underemployed, just find you another job. And then they go and do work for us, like pick up mattresses or anything else like that. So we had them out cleaning the fire district's land yesterday, and they do all kinds of drainage projects. They'll go pick up trash. They've been a huge saver during COVID because we had situations where, we couldn't find anybody to go clean the cars anymore, the police cars, and they've been so great. And so we view that community service crew. We even have a court crew that comes out that's in orange jackets that do some even heavier projects that doesn't cost us any in terms of taxpayers. Did you have something, Chip? Yes. Yep, let's see the mic.
And just to follow up on that a little bit more, we've even had this group that have come in. We've had some senior citizens that have had problems with the weeds and have not been able to get out there and take care of them. And through, say follow up through the code compliance as well as this group of people, they've been able to come in and clean up property, helping them out. And that's, reducing the fire danger on it, because when weeds start getting up about this high, unfortunately, there's a possibility of a fire continuing on, going right up to the house. And that we've used it, not a great number of times, but it's something that they are working for the good of the entire community. And it's helped out in many ways and helped out overtly.
Thank you, sir. So you all are getting volunteers to kind of clean up the area and so forth. I notice around, Apache Junction that there are places that need to be cleaned up. Some of those people have been there quite some time, retirees and whatnot. Some of them cannot pay to get their properties cleaned up, hence is why it hasn't changed. Or many of them, like my military retired father, cannot change his ways. You see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying anything about age, old dog, new tricks. However, what is the city doing, being that you're in the cleanup project, you have a code compliance manager now, to help these people, besides the volunteers, there's some sort of funding that can help people that can't afford to clean up their area, who may and can be fined because of the new compliance that's going out. What can you all do, or is there anything that Apache Junction has put together to make that happen, to help with the cleanup? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of citizens out there, let me use that word now, that would like to clean up their property, but can't afford it.
So I'll take a stab at one of them, and you may have an idea. So one of the groups that's out there that's a little bit greater and stronger than just a volunteer group is a group called the Community Development Corporation, and they are actively trying to they just took out a big old 20 tires and a bunch of other work, and they are a group of folks that have a little bit more resources in terms of time and ability. And so they're also able to go in and help out. Now, I don't know if we would ever look at or consider using taxpayer dollar to go in and do that. We've not. That's a public policy decision to do that, because that's an interesting psychological thing if you say, well, if the government will do it for me. So we're not talking about those. And so other than the CDC, I can't think of any others right now, Chip. Al, I know the CDC, was that the one you were thinking of? So you have the community service workers. We also work with the CDC, and then co-compliance. If we do have situations that are like that, Mayor talked a little bit about that. We want to know about that, and so we can maybe make the call out to the others to go ahead and let's see if we can get some help for the person. We have, what do we do in October? We call it Make a Difference Week or Make a Difference a Month, and we try to help out that way. We used to do paint drives too, where we would do that week. But we're also looking for volunteers to come and help out as well on the CDC. That's a program that's it's getting going. Yes? A couple more? You both raised at the same time.
I was just curious, is that the organization that is beautifying the Apache Trail, or is that a different?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that that's been a goal. We've had that group help us out in there. And we've also been using some of our staff. So Public Works is out. The contract right now that's out in the median, is that what you're talking about on the median out in front? That's actually our taxpayer dollars using HERF dollars, Highway User Revenue Funds, to create the curb or to create the drainage. And then we're using the CDC and other volunteers to help do the planting or do some of the other dirt work that's a little bit less skilled. So it's kind of combination on that. But that is the group. Yeah, they were just out doing that.
Yeah, they started it last year.
Yeah.
That was the Make a Difference Day project was to start that median beautification project.
For the
exactly.
cost of how much we've put in as taxpayers versus what we're seeing is really neat, and we want to keep that going all the way from Meridian, all the way to Idaho Road or beyond, Chip, if we can.
I agree. Our company actually donated a significant amount because I think it's very well put money, because that's where all of when we do get monsoon storms, everything washes out. So I think it's great.
Good. Yeah. Well, keep watching that, because we got the next 2 or 3 or 4 years to get that all looking ship shape, and it's making some great words. We're actually going to be working with Pinal County. You all know where the roundabout is. That was another one that was super fun on Facebook. Yeah, everybody thought we were going to all die. They still have videos. You know what that did is actually it decreased. I mean, it's really helped out in terms of, we haven't had very many accidents, and if there are any, they're kind of minor. Just south of that area is a Pinal County, used to be a park. For those that have been a long time, that used to be a park. It's being worked as a drainage area. So some of these other improvements will help to manage some of those drainage problems. And that big old retention basin's coming. It was about a year and a half away now.
I think my question was links, because seeing that certain stuff that you guys are doing now, is there any links to where your common citizen is able to find it? Because even with Facebook and other stuff, I know there's active members pushing stuff out on Facebook, but so many people don't use Facebook. Is there like a main link in the sense of on the website, like with the CDC, for volunteers to help out? Because even for me, being a veteran, that was something I was looking to do, but then I got hired onto with the company. But still, on my free time, looking to do stuff like that.
You want to tackle that one? Because I think that is so my dream of the 80s and 90s, when you had one newspaper and all the information with the newspaper and we can open it up and read it, those are all gone. And it's so hard because there's so many strands. And so how do you manage that in terms of, because we have our own website, we have our Facebook page, we have a Twitter site, and then we
Call
don't
me.
have, yeah.
That's the easiest, the shortest answer. The city webpage, the city homepage is probably the best place to start on almost any of this. It's where I put all of the city news on. It's right on the front page. If you have what we call the request tracker, it's the suggestion box for the city. It's right there on the homepage. You see something out there, you see some desert dumping going on, whatever it might be. That's a good place for you to start. But you hit on, and I will talk about this when I talk a little bit about my area, you've hit on one of the major challenges of government and a lot of other folks out there, and that is because everybody is consuming their news and information differently than we used to, we do have to use a lot of different avenues. So in my case, yes, I still put stuff in the monthly paper, but I also do stuff in social media, and I do stuff online. Well, I need to find some other ways to get things right into people's hands. So one of the examples I will tell you is, for 2020, we had, of course, the decennial census. Every 10 years, the United States counts all its people. I got additional response when I did door hangers. We haven't used door hangers in I don't know how long. Some people still do. But that's not something I would have planned for. And I got a response from that. Well, it turns out not everybody's connected in this city, just like you were saying. People who are older are not as connected as other parts of the city. So there you've hit on a really important part of government and making sure your citizens are informed. It's not as easy as it used to be. And so we all have to be really, really creative about that.
And just to follow up, I watch YouTube videos when I cook with the city council and all the different little boards, which sounds stupid, but that's how you find out a lot of information, because you're like, oh, they're planning this, and that way you know how to get connected and how to work your way into it. So there's another option for you too.
Thank you, Pam. All right. Any more questions? I know we're due for a break, and these gentlemen need to get home to their families. So if we don't have any, you want a question? Go ahead, Des.
Bryant, one of the things you might want to mention, and this isn't so much a question as explain to them how important volunteers are and about how many hours a year and how much money the city is saving because we use volunteers so much in Apache Junction.
It goes back to your question, how do we keep everyone involved? And we're constantly trying to evaluate that. Volunteers, we could not do it without volunteers. I love to talk about the pause and clause. If you've ever had a chance to go there, the budget for pause and clause is really, comparatively speaking to our city budget, very small, few $100,000, but the operation, the ability to manage all these animals, all the immunization, all the different things that come in dealing with a fairly urbanized area of pause and clause, it's incredible. We're into the hundreds of thousands tests, $400,000 that we do that number that's given to us from the federal government says for every hour, so we keep track of the number of hours. So over in the police department, we have just so many volunteers, the library department, many volunteers that come in and help out. On our website, under HR, for job opportunities, we will have a few jobs. We have about 300 employees in the city. And so you'll see police officer often, or dispatcher, and then there'll be some other job in the city, usually is what I kind of notice. But then every department has a volunteer. And so we're constantly recruiting for volunteers. If you ever have someone that might want to volunteer at the city, so we have, just a tremendous amount of help. At the library, we do an annual volunteer, and it's full, 30 people that are constantly helping out Pam at the library to be able to get the books, take care of them, and do those other duties so that we can be out in front and do the other part of it. Over at the library, Parks and Rec, almost so many volunteers there. That is a great question. We need to find out for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. So my daughter was able to be a junior lifeguard, but that's the only thing. But she could never work for the city, by the way. She's really mad at me for that. She wanted to be a lifeguard, but I'm like, you got to go to Mesa. Yeah. So the food bank, I've noticed over at the food bank, like they'll bring in Apache Junction High School Student Council, but they really pre-work it, and it's as a group, and they really kind of pre-work it and have a certain duties of what they're going to do. So I have seen some youth, which is really important. I mean, I know that we brought some youth the day we were doing the median. When we were doing those median, we brought youth out that day. So there are ways. We probably don't have a formal to be looking. Yeah, so that number is around 400,000 every year. Yeah. Okay, that was.
A lot of that's covered under the insurance rules and state laws that govern what kids can do. When I was at the Superstition Museum and managed volunteers, I was told I could have volunteers at any age down to like 12, depending on what they were going to be doing. Because the insurance, they couldn't ride a tractor, for instance, but they could push a broom, and they couldn't run a cash register or handle cash. So there's a lot of places just say no.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. So there are. Yeah. If you want to get into that, we could have. Yeah, parks and I think library. Like I said, there's also the Parks Department also oversees a youth advisory council, which is all made up of teenagers, essentially high school students. That as well. All right. Anything else? Mayor Chip Wilson, City Manager Bryden Powell. Thank you. Okay. 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up the night with a little bit of an overview and some history lessons, and we'll go around and meet everybody. How's that? All right, 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to, oh, where's the, I'm going to pass the microphone around. Okay, everybody okay? Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the microphone, I'm going to start passing it around so everybody can introduce themselves. I want everybody to at least tell me your name, and not everybody, I don't believe everybody in this class actually lives in the city limits of Apache Junction. So if you live in Gold Canyon, has anybody ever seen Parks and Recreation, the TV show? So if you live in Eagleton, you can let us know that you live in Eagleton. That's an inside joke for those. If you haven't seen Parks and Recreation, I would encourage you to do so. It is one of the best ways of portraying municipal government in an entertaining way that I have ever seen. Am I right, Ms. Miller? No. Okay, so give me the cross streets again. Can you remember the cross streets? It's Mesa. Ellsworth and Broadway. So she's still in Mesa because it's not quite the unincorporated. Or is that unincorporated? So it's unincorporated Maricopa County. She probably is, actually. We'll pull it up. Well, you could volunteer and go just about anywhere, but the only problem is if you have an issue, certainly a governmental issue, you have to go to Maricopa County as opposed to Mesa or Apache. Oh, good. Let's keep it that way. my man Terrell over there, he's got more issues than Sports Illustrated. I'm kidding. And so that's part of it. There are some places that have sort of a residency requirement. So, for example, if you want to serve on a board or commission within the city of Apache Junction, so let's say you want to serve on the Parks Board, the Library Board, or yeah, you have to live within the city. You have to live. That's it. You have to live within the city limits. But if you want to serve on the Food Bank Board, or the Sewer District Board, or the School Board, for that matter, you just have to live within the general area, which is a much bigger boundary. So it goes all the way to Meridian and all the way out to Gold Canyon to Eagleton. So, what's that? The only ones that you don't have to be a resident are Sewer District, Health and Human Services, and the Art Commission. Correct. That's right. Obviously, we like to, keep everybody in the community as best we can, but there's a couple of things like that. Okay, so nonetheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass around, like I said, the microphone. I want you to please give me your name, where you live, more or less, in the city or otherwise, and how it is that you, a little bit about yourself if you want, just real quick, a line or two, but I'd really like to know why you decided to want to take the CLI class, if there is a specific reason, or if you're simply here to learn a little bit more about the city. And then I would love to know how you learned about CLI as well. Okay, so everybody ready for that? And then we'll do our little overview, and then we'll let you all get out of here. Okay, let's go.
I got the hot seat.
You can stand up, yeah.
Oh, that's even better. It's going to take me a minute to stand up. My name is Ziana Hennessy. I am in AJ, City of AJ. I'm a volunteer auxiliary patrol officer for Apache Junction Police Department. Started there. I heard about this through the website. My work was real estate. I'm here. I moved out here, helped my family develop their property out here. So that's important. I lived in Gilbert mostly since I came from San Diego. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mask right now. I can't breathe through this mask. Let me add those words, please. Did I say I'm also a comedian? I'm just playing. So I'm here to do that. I'm here to help. That's why I had a lot of questions in regards to development, what Apache Junction is doing to help the owners and the residents to clean up out here. So that was pretty big. What else? What was the other question? Was that it?
I think you hit them
Okay, that's it. I'm sorry? Oh, what brought me here is my family. They own a 3-acre lot out here, and I'm here to clean it up and take everything down and put no new property up because they don't plan to move. My dad's retired military. He ain't leaving. He told me if I couldn't buy a house for my mom outside of AJ, and that I'd have to bury him in the land. So if that's what I got to do, so that's why I'm here. I want to learn a little bit more about the city. I'm from San Diego, so I always wanted to live in a small town. I guess I found one, if that's what my dad wants, is to be here. All right, thank you.
We're not cheering for the Padres, sorry. We're just not.
Seniors don't have to stand up. If you're over 55, you can stay in your seat. I'm over 58, I can still stand in my seat. At any rate, my name is Mary Lee Miller, and I'm desperately trying to find out where I live.
We will figure that out.
I have finished a similar course in Rockdale County, Georgia, as I'm a retired deputy sheriff from Rockdale. 18 years military, Army as a medical specialist. So I came here to kind of, just kind of relax and chill out, but I got so much energy that I want to share, and I want people to be on fire about Apache Junction, but I don't even live here. It's such a beautiful place to be, for people to come in and visit. People are even lined up to come and see what Apache Junction has, and again, I don't live here, but I'm still bringing them, okay? So you guys find out where I live. What brought me here, again, I'm retired, nothing else to do. But I love people, and I'm a senior, so I'm going to fight for those that are over 58.
There you go.
You don't hear me.
You are in a county island, I just looked it up.
And so what does that mean in terms
So that means
of,
yeah, there you
You
go.
will-
You're in an unincorporated area.
you going to be my mentor?
There you go.
But you're going to be my mentor. Well, if you've never known a Southern black woman before. Okay, but can you cook? Okay, we can work it out. And I'm going to let you eat that catfish. It's too greasy for me. I'm going to pass this on to my fellow vet right here.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was already in the house.
Hi, my name's Tess Nesser, and I have to show you. You see it? Do you see it? Right there? It just got put up. I just got elected. Our new mayor and me and Braden and Kelly, the three of us are new city council members. But what I want to talk to you about a little bit, let me start out. I've lived here in Apache Junction in March. It'll be 35 years. And I came here, long story short, I came here and I went to work for the county attorney's office. I worked there for almost 25 years until I retired 10 years ago. But in addition to working, I needed things to do. Weekends and in the evenings, I don't have kids. So I got involved with the city. I initially went to the library, and I was a volunteer at the library reshelving books. I did that for a while, and then I really got involved with the city. Came to city council. I got appointed to the library board in 1998, to Parks and Rec in 1998, and in 2000 to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I just have left doing all of those because to do this job, I can't do those. I couldn't be a volunteer. But for over the last 20 years, I've been a volunteer there. Plus, I volunteered, and a lot of this while I was still working. I volunteered for 18 years with the police department, and I've been a volunteer at the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm on the board of the Boys and Girls Club and the Focal Point and the SACA, Superstition Arts and Cultural Alliance, and I'd have to look on my resume to see everything. But what I'm getting at is there are needs in this community that so many, not only the city, but a lot of organizations, a lot of nonprofits need volunteers. They survive on volunteers. Jeff can tell you he ran all the volunteers, or organized all of them out at the Superstition Mountain Museum. And there is a million ways you can volunteer in this community. And the good thing about being a volunteer is you get to pick and choose when you want to work, how many hours you want to work, what you'd like to do. So don't ever say that there's not an opportunity in this community to give back to the community, because there's literally a million things you can be doing. Is there anything else that you wanted to know? But that's the biggie. This community survives on volunteers. And I'll help you with figuring out where you live.
Oh, yeah, we'll go that way.
Well, it won't be me going, but I'm going to have my girlfriend Sarah go first.
Hello, I'm Sarah Snyder. I'll answer for both of us. We both live in Apache Junction, just down the road. A little bit about my background is I've worked for a large university for about 12 years in finance. I left that and I went and I was a stock market manager. Realized that world is full of sharks, and I did not enjoy it. I lost the personal touch of people, and it was all about money. Money is important, but it's not everything. So I left that. I then transitioned to home health, and I've been working as a manager for in-home care with seniors. I'm a certified dementia practitioner, have my master's degree. I'm now looking for a new opportunity, but for work, because I'm going to leave the home health, but I'm in that transition right now. Let's see, I recently became a director of the board of directors for my HOA. That's how I met Al.
Yep.
He was there the night that I became a director there, and told him, and most people that know me, that one day I'm going to be the mayor of Apache Junction. So here I am, getting my stuff in, so that way it'll happen. I know. It's going to say Sarah Snyder one of these days. So it will, yes. Yeah, that's my goal. So that's me. Nice to meet you all.
So can I ask there, Ms. Snyder, have you gotten vaccinated, or are you going to, since you're kind of working in that area?
My round 2 vaccination is tomorrow morning.
Wow, already.
At 7
Okay.
a.m., yes.
Excellent. Very
Yep.
good. Very, very good.
It's a smile that I like to show. All right, so my name is Terrell Moore. Actually, I moved out here to Apache Junction from Glendale. Seen the opportunity, and I'm very big on faith. Very, very, very big. Communication, working together, it goes a far way. So I seen it, and I was like, well, Apache Junction, an hour away, let's do it. Because there's opportunities, with my girlfriend. I just finished up over at ASU, go Sun Devils. And I actually just got deployed over at Walgreens too. So with the opportunity to really focus within the community, why not? One of the biggest barriers, and it sucks, but is having the age gaps of the older citizens versus, the younger citizens, and trying to work together and kind of be the one to do good things. And hopefully with Sarah and I, that's something that we're able to do. Enough just to get the faces out, big smiles, and have a great time.
I'm going to warn you, I might make fun of Glendale before the class is all over. Glendale's the first city, I worked in Glendale for 1 year. It's the only city I've ever been in that had an inferiority complex. It wants to be Scottsdale so bad. I'm kidding.
I don't see
Go ahead. There is.
My name is Caitlin Knox. I am an Apache Junction resident. I make my money as a business analyst for a telecommunications company in Utah, so I work remotely. I also, my husband and I own a landscape company local here in Apache Junction, and honestly, that the involvement with a small business is what sparked my interest in getting more involved with the city government, because I realized how much power they hold to make decisions, and how, like, I wanted to be involved in that type. I wanted a seat at the table, I guess. So I applied to serve on the Board of Planning and Zoning, but was selected instead to serve on the Board of Adjustments, which is a happy transition, I'm sure. Anyways, this was presented as an opportunity at that first meeting, so I jumped on it, of course, any way to develop those skills. I'm also a full-time student at ASU pursuing my MBA. So I have a lot going on, but I think that when you decide that something is a priority, there's always opportunities to make time for those commitments. And really, I just want to empower myself by building up my own knowledge on how things work and how's the right way to go about things, especially with having a business.
Very good. Go ahead and pass it back there. I will tell you, and one of the things that, if you, I don't know if they said it in so many words, either Bryant or Mayor Wilson, and that is, when you apply for a city board, planning and zoning, parks, libraries, we have several, one of the first things that the council will ask, because everyone is interviewed before they're appointed, one of the first things they will ask is, have you taken CLI? That will be their first question they will ask. So that's why, and those of you who have already been appointed, and those of you who have served previous will tell you that's one of the. It's not a prerequisite, but it sure feels like it. And at one point, I think more than half of all of our board and commission members had gone through the class at some point. So it is a great way to to sort of get started on that. And there are several former board and commission members who have gone on to serve on the city council, and our vice mayor is one of them. She was on planning and zoning, and now she's been on council, and she's going to start serving as vice mayor as well. Jeffrey, go ahead.
Good evening. So I'm Jeff Mitchell. You guys have probably already seen me on social media because I kind of rock the boat a little bit sometimes. But I'm new here from Chicago. Here because my mom actually had a stroke. So whenever you see me, you're probably going to see her because I'm taking care of her, making sure she's doing okay. So we put everything in the U-Haul, my wife and my dog, and we came down here. And I got elected to the Health and Human Services Board, which is great. I applied for a couple different ones, just trying to look at helping out. So anything that I can do in that area is awesome. So that's what got me interested in CLI. I would have done it had Al been able to teach it, but when I got here, everything was kind of COVID closed. So been here since April. I really like it out here, and I just want to be a light in the community any way that I can be. So, I also work as a financial advisor with Prudential. I'm not a shark in any way. I actually teach a lot of financial education. So you might think, wait, why has he got the ASU stuff on? I do a lot of stuff in Tempe with the Chamber of Commerce and stuff, and I'm looking at doing more teaching with ASU students in the financial space because they don't teach these skills. So hopefully that'll be something good, but I want to be able to use that here in Apache Junction. So. Oh, I got the hat. I wanted to go to the games, but couldn't, and I guess they canceled every game for several weeks anyway. I think they only played like 3 games, but they did beat Arizona.
Yes, they did.
Pretty epically,
Yes,
so I see that.
As a matter of fact, I think ASU just scored again. That's how bad that was.
I saw it like 50 to 7 or something. But.
And actually, we will cheer for the Cubs. We're not going to cheer for the Padres, but we will cheer. I'm kidding. The head of and you will see her before the end of the class, the CEO of the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce is a woman named Denise Hart, and she actually worked with the Tempe Chamber for quite a while, so she will be a good contact for you.
Oh, I see her at the Focal Point group too.
Excellent.
So
Perfect.
just trying to get involved in different areas, so yeah, that's all part of it.
We have way too many Jeffs, so pass it to the other Jeff.
Other Jeff.
Is that a Cubs hat you're wearing? What? Oh. Yeah, I'm Jeff Barlett. I'm here connecting with people here in AJ. I'm also on 2 different city boards as well. I'm on the Library Board and Industrial Development Authority. If anyone pays attention to any local city politics, I was also a write-in in the recent election. I'm not going to get into detail about that here. And then I've been back and forth to AJ probably many times. I've been back and forth like multiple times from like Texas, Nevada. I lived in New York for 2 years when I was a kid, so I mean, I've moved around a lot, but for some reason I just keep it coming right back here.
Got to come back to the right place.
Yeah, it's a nice area to live. I mean, and especially right now, Apache Junction's the best place to be in right now. I do not want to go back to New York anytime soon until things
Probably a good idea.
clean up over there. And by the way, I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah, there we
and
go.
a New York Giants fan.
We're not going to be cheering for the Yankees. We're not cheering for the Yankees.
All right.
All right.
Unless you want to.
Go ahead, Pat.
Hi. I was trying to pawn it off to see how long I could go. My name's Pat Thompson. I am a Apache Junction resident. I live on the west end somewhere. I'm actually neighbors with Jeff Struble.
Oh, okay.
I know some of the folks will know him. Oh, and Tess, I want you to know, I got a card in the mail when you were running, and it was handwritten, and I'm like, I was impressed. So, and it worked, by the way. I won't say how I voted, because I don't want people to think I voted for somebody who sent me mail randomly, but
Wow.
your hand still works? Only 300 a night.
Wow.
Remember though, Tess doesn't go to bed like normal people does. She stays up till 6 o'clock in the morning. She's got plenty of time all night to watch her soap operas.
That's it.
But thank you for that. Let's see. I found out about the CLI. Strangely enough, we had moved in. So I've been here for about 3.5 years. We had a trash dump day. There's a dumpster at the end of our street. And my wife and I were just loading stuff up, you know, and the guy said, hey, there's this citizens thing that you guys want to go learn about the city. Why don't you go do it? They're signing up right now. I'm like, okay. We were busy, but we were remodeling our house.
Okay.
So, no, at that point. And then I know Matt Busby, he's the assistant city manager.
Yep.
And he's been harassing me to get more involved. And so that's why I'm here. Oh, we fell in love with the town. We lived in Mesa, just on the other side of Single Butte, and we moved here because I had lost a job and we needed to reduce our expenses a bit. And I just kind of fallen in love with Apache Junction. Been here for 20 years, and I was surprised how much I just, like the place. And I really appreciate the fact that I can see stars outside of my house at night.
That's right. Daryl.
Get rid of that. So, I'm Daryl Cross. A lot of you might know me from social media. May also know me from running for city council. Missed it by about that much. Anyhow, I moved out here to Apache Junction from Mesa back in 2004. I had a house built. Main reason for coming out here: 1, small town feel; 2, horse community. I'm big into horses. I'm the current chairman of the Superstition Horsemen's Association, also a member of the East Valley Backcountry Horsemen's Association. I've packed in all kinds of tools, equipment, and supplies all over the Superstition wilderness for Town and National Forest so they can maintain trails and do what they do. Currently, I was fortunate enough to be appointed to Planning and Zoning Commission. And one of the main things I realized in running for the position and whatnot is the CLI, this class. It's really important. It really helps connect you into what is going on in this community. It shows us why things operate the way they do. And it's just a perfect opportunity to learn and grow and be even more connected. As Tess said, we're a group of volunteers. The Planning and Zoning Commission has a heavy workload, but it's volunteer. There's no money going out to it. It's really important, and I'm glad to see all the extra people here tonight and taking this class. I think we're all going to benefit big time from it. So,
thank you. Pam?
well, I'm from South Dakota. I figured it was too cold there, so I might as well go to one of the hottest places I know, so I picked Arizona. Got 2 kids, and I bought a house, and I don't like brown. So I wanted to paint my walls, and they told me I can kind of do what I want, and that's how I found out about the meeting. And I have 2 children, 9 and 20. And my 20-year-old, you know, when she turned 18, she knows everything. Now she's 20, and she volunteered till COVID happened, but that was for reptile stuff. But our whole motto is, if you want to do something and you don't like the way it, understand how it's run and get involved in it. Because that's the only way you're going to know anything. And a lot of people are talking about volunteering. Centennial meeting the first Thursday of every month at the library. Hint, hint, we need volunteers. So, and we, you know, it's a small little committee right now, but we're looking for volunteers for the beginning of January. So, but come every month, we're doing our meetings, we're welcoming anybody, and we're on Facebook, please follow us.
The city, as you'll come to find out here when I do a little bit of a history lesson, is just a little over 40 years old, but the history of the area goes back to the original squatters, the original homesteaders of the area who came here in 1922. So next year, we'll mention that in a minute. So that means next year will be the 100th anniversary of the first folks who kind of settled the area of Youngsburg, which became, of course, Apache Junction. Our third Jeff.
Okay, I'm going to jump on the Centennial Committee thing right away. Tess, Pam, myself, and Jeff. Daryl.
Too many Jeffs.
Are all on the Centennial Committee.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, you are too. Sorry. Well, there's a bunch of us on it. We need more people on it. Our goal is to set up an event, a special event, and a year-long celebration in 2022 to celebrate the naming and founding of Apache Junction by George Cleveland Curtis and his family. We do have an active Facebook page, and I'm trying to keep it going with interesting stories and things. I'm working with the library now to put up some more stuff on it. So please go on the Facebook page, like us, come to our meetings, and volunteer to help us out, as we do need the help. We need a lot of people. We started off our first meeting with, 55 people? And I think we're down to 8 now at a regular basis. We need to get back to a lot of people. Okay, that pitch is done. I'm Jeff Danford. I've lived in Apache Junction for going on 11 years. Everybody talks about how they moved to this town because they liked it and all. We moved because it was the cheapest place we could find a house. After being married for almost 48 years, we never had a house of our own. We qualified, and we started looking for houses that we could afford. And my wife was working as a teacher in Gilbert Junior High School, so she drew a map, she drew a radius and said, anything within a 12-mile, a 20-minute drive we could look at. So the realtor said, well, at Apache Junction. And my first thought was, you got to be kidding me. I lived in Arizona since 1963 with a brief 10-year period that we were out in different states. And my vision of Apache Junction was meth heads, trailer parks, hookers, and bars. Why do I want to live there? Yeah, I'll show you where they were.
I need in on that.
So we came out here. My brother-in-law at the time was the police chief, so I got a hold of him and, hey, what's it like out here? We came out, looked at it, and we fell in love with this area immediately.
Right.
I worked for 6 years at the Superstition Mountain Museum. I was the event coordinator and the volunteer coordinator. My wife was a high school teacher out in Queen Creek, and we've decided that we're going to die here. Hopefully not soon.
Yeah.
But this is the last place we're going to live. And I decided, I've been here. I'm retired now, except I work a couple hours a week with Tess over there at the Goldfield Museum. I decided, I might as well start getting involved in the city now. And the CLI was a good place to start. I recently got appointed to the Public Arts Commission.
Right.
And I've got a few more I'm going to apply for down the road. It's time to start getting involved. And I'm happy to be here.
That's the new Arts Commission. That has only been in existence for just a little over a year. Just got started up. We're going to really try to build up a public arts program in the city that had not happened up to this point. John.
Yeah, my name's John Baker. I'm an Arizona native, born and raised in 85201, Alma School in 8th Street, basically. Been married 30 years. I got 6 kids. Thank God 4 are married and out of the house. Well, 3 are married. 1's going to ASU. Go Devils. And I still got 2 at home, a 17 and a 23-year-old. Basically, about 5 years ago, I was given a second chance at life, basically. And the kids are out of the house. Things are going just phenomenally well. You know, I couldn't imagine my life being this good, and just really want to give back, you know. I love AJ. My mother is involved in AJ in a way. She's a horsewoman. She does barrel racing. She's 70 years old, and she's always hanging out with these people that do things around the city. You know what I mean? And it's just amazing. And I figure if she can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? And also, real quick background, my grandmother was actually a delegate for Goldwater in 1964.
Wow.
And she was a secretary for Judge James Cameron in the Arizona State Supreme Court. And just her legacy with me, I really owe her a lot. You know, she really drove that into me, you know, service, you know, public service and, you know, stuff like that and help others. And she's been gone for a few years now, and I just thought, you know what, this is something that I can do, you know what I mean, and get involved and stuff like that. So I also have a plan not to be mayor, of course, but in 10 years, you know, somewhere, you know, maybe State House of Representatives, learn how things work, make a difference, you know, and I'm just glad to be here. I love AJ, I've raised my kids here, and I just love it. Thanks.
Where he grew up, by the way, is where the Chicago Cubs spring training is.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that out.
Riverview or
Cubs.
Sewerview.
Riverview.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, at least we know a little bit more about each other as we go forward. As you know, we're looking at probably the next 3 months or so, about 8 classes. I will tell you all about those as we go forward, but I'm going to give you a little quick overview of the city, so you have a little idea for those of you who haven't been here that long, and those of you who have been here for at least a little while. Some of this stuff should be fairly familiar, and if not, please do ask a question. What I will probably do, since don't want to spend too much time on it, is if you ask a question, I'll just probably repeat it so that we make sure we get it on the audio. And again, like I said, we want to make sure we're cognizant of the audio part since we're recording everything, as I had said before. So this is kind of a way of looking at things. Long before the city was actually incorporated, this is probably about the time the school district came into existence, is the picture on the left, and then the picture on the right gives you a little bit better idea of what the city might look like now. Not quite. Obviously, Grand Hotel is in there. That no longer exists, but there was probably 25,000 people in the city in 2003. Anybody have any clue on how many people we have in the city limits now? So the census, which I will talk a little bit about as we go forward, because it was one of my initiatives, it will be coming out in the next couple of months. We probably will see a number around 42,000 is what we'll likely see for the city limits of Apache Junction. A lot of people will tell you right now, the middle of January, maybe not this year, but previous Januaries, that number probably sits around 60 or 70,000. We figure we get that many more people in winter visitors every year. This year obviously was not going to be the same as previous. We still saw certainly a bump in population during this winter, and we'll continue to do so for a couple more months. All you have to do is go to Fry's or go to a restaurant, right, and you can figure that out. You will have seen a number of things that have developed and changed and evolved over time if you've spent any time in the city. Some of the examples is what I have up here. Downtown Park, we did not have a downtown park before 3 years ago. Flatiron Community Park is one of the real creative municipal government transactions, if you will. The site of the park was a old rundown 2-story apartment building, a very unfortunately crime-ridden area. And the area where the Fry's now sits was partly owned by the city. And so the city worked out a great swap of land where Kroger ended up getting the where the Fry's is now, and the shopping center there, and that developer, and we got the area where Flatiron Park is now. And so there was minimal dollars involved from the city standpoint, certainly from the taxpayer standpoint. Obviously, once we built that park, we do have to maintain it, so that is still part of our city budget. But to get it up and running was part of a really, really creative transaction, costing you and I very little. Now, there's some numbers up on this screen there from 1978. Any reason why I picked 1978? The city of Apache Junction was incorporated in 1978. I remember a couple of these things because I was in junior high, 6th, 7th grade, it seems to me. What grade were you in, John? 4th? 1978? Yeah, so I probably was in 6th. And give you a little bit of a sense of how far we've come, but also how young we are. If you look throughout Arizona, there's lots and lots of places in this state that go back to territorial days. Everybody know when the state became a state? 1912. So this is 1978, by the way. We actually are a very young city compared to the other cities in the valley and a lot of the cities in Arizona. Anybody have any idea how many cities are in Arizona, cities and towns? Want to guess? 90, believe it or not. This was the original city hall, believe it or not. There is still some remnants of that if you go over to the parking lot closer over to Idaho, where the Parks and Recreation Department still has its some offices, and the original city council chambers are actually still over there. That's where they were, and that's where they started. And that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where we were. That's 1984. Graduated from high school there. And things started to grow from out of there. Again, we're talking about just a few thousand people at that time. And remember that it was unincorporated Pinal County at that time before it became part of the city. And so a lot of the things that we face, some of the challenges, even 4 decades later, some of the challenges we face in the city are remnants a bit of the county jurisdiction. It was the county that created a lot of the zoning, areas, and some of the, the rules and regulations that we still kind of follow that still need to evolve a little bit. We are now a little more urbanized, certainly than we were in 1978. New public safety building, police headquarters, and then in 2005, the city built where we are now, City Hall, the multi-generational center. That all came into being 15 years ago, and so it is now a very, very nice place to work, I will tell you. At the time, it was the first government building to be built with LEED standards. Not quite what they would be now, but at that time was the first in Arizona to have that. There's our library. If you're wondering about the campus in general, that sort of gives you an idea of where everything is. If you haven't been around throughout the campus, I would encourage you to get a chance to walk around so you have kind of a lay of the land, the multi-generational center. If we have not been over there, wonderful, fabulous center, library, got a little playground area, the police headquarters. Should things sort of get a little bit better, we might go over to the MGC. That used to be part of our class. We used to hold it over there, but also we do a little tour. That's just a little bit out of what we want to be doing right now. But if things get a little bit better, maybe we can figure out a safe way to go through the MGC. Also, in the last several years, there have been other things that have developed in the city. Over time, including our swimming pool that we share with the school district and the skate park. Not every city of our size has such amenities. It's pretty nice. The focal point is in a lot of ways the center of town in some ways. At least it kind of acts as that in a different way. If you're not familiar what that is, it's sort of the junction of Apache Trail, Phelps, and Plaza, and you take either road, either Old West Highway to go southeast, or Route 88, the North Apache Trail, to go towards the lakes. on the northeast. But it starts right around there, and that's where we put the Christmas tree up every year, and a number of ceremonies are held there as well every year. A lot of people know about that. You will learn about some of the other amenities within the city. This is one that you may be aware of if you've ever been part of or visited Lost Dutchman Days, which normally would happen in February of every year. It was canceled, of course, for this year, but I'm sure it'll come back in 2022. It's held at the rodeo grounds. The rodeo grounds is actually managed by the city Parks and Recreation Department, but it sits on federal land, Bureau of Land Management land. And that puts a number of restrictions on what we can do there. So we have been, over the last couple of years, in discussions with the BLM to try to loosen some of those restrictions. Part of this restriction is you're really not allowed to do anything commercial on that land. So if somebody wanted to come do Country Thunder out of the rodeo grounds, there's no way we can do it. Lost Dutchman Days and the other events that are held there are technically held by nonprofits, and that is allowed. But we can't put a vending machine, for example, at Prospector Park or at the rodeo ground since it sits on BLM. Anybody who's looking for a good starter hike, Silly Mountain, as you're going up 60 towards Gold Canyon, Silly Mountain is a nice place to start. That also falls under the city Parks and Recreation Department. Our big park, of course, is the Prospector Park. That's on Idaho, going a little farther north. You may be familiar with that. One of the areas that I always highlight, that you will get a whole a lesson on economic development. I believe that's the next class. Is a very, very important part of the city and city operations. And the reason for that is that, does anybody know what the number one or the largest part of our budget is in terms of revenue coming into the city? Anybody want to guess? Very good. Shop local, right? Sales tax is our number one portion of the budget as far as revenue. Our biggest chunk of revenue comes from sales tax. There is not a property tax in the city of Apache Junction. Wait a minute. We all pay property tax. Yes, you do. You pay it to Pinal County. You pay it to the school district. You pay it to the fire district. But you do not, if you go back and look at your tax statement, none of that goes to the city. We're not the only one who does that. There aren't very many who don't, but the city of Mesa and the city of Apache Junction are a couple that do not have a property tax. So the city does depend on economic development. It's a very, very important part of the budget operation because such a big part of our budget comes from sales tax. For those of you who are recreationalists, fishing, boating, anything along those lines, you know what State Route 88 is. State Route 88 was just redone in the last couple of years, all the way up through the lakes. But a major storm a year and a half ago took out a big chunk of the road that unfortunately remains closed. So you cannot do the whole loop of the Apache Trail. There, you know, for many, many years, you could go all the way around from here and go all the way up through the lakes, Roosevelt, down through Globe and Miami, and then back to Apache Junction. You cannot do that and may not be able to do that for some time because the State Department of Transportation has not made that particular area a priority for repair because unfortunately it's very expensive and the state has not deemed fit that is a priority, at least not yet. Hopefully that will change sometime soon. We continue to lobby the state for that. As the city manager mentioned, at the corner right here of Superstition and State Route 88 had been a regular intersection. 2 years ago, it became the roundabout. And a lot of folks had a lot of angst over that. It has turned out to be a pretty good move all the way around. We've only seen a couple of very minor accidents now on that particular corner. When we go through the list, and we're going to go through the list here in just a minute because I don't want to keep you guys here too long, we're going to try to keep class 6:30 to 9 is the general idea. I don't think we'll be here until 9 o'clock every Wednesday unless you guys ask a lot of questions, which is fine. But the third class would normally fall on February 10th. if you follow the schedule, like I said, which we'll go through in a minute. But this year, on February 10th, you are welcome to come, but you can stay at home that night. We certainly want to try to keep the council chambers as safe as possible. We will do our annual State of the City event, which is essentially going to be a multimedia event. It is videos that Matt McNulty, my counterpart in communications, puts together, and Mayor Wilson will introduce from up here. But it is not the same as previous years. Previous years we had a whole event over at the high school auditorium. This year it's going to be mostly virtual, and you are welcome to take part in that, and that will take the place of the third class of CLI. So you will still get class attendance points for attending the State of the City, even virtually. So as I said, here's our schedule. And what I did was I printed out this PowerPoint presentation. That's what you have in your binder, so you can go back and look at all the different areas of the city that you will learn about. So, for example, the next class in 2 weeks is going to be about the budget. Assistant City Manager Matt Busby will give that presentation, and then Economic Development, which Janine Solly, our Economic Development Director, she will present there. The State of the City on the 10th. Development Services takes a whole night because, of course, for those of you who know about planning and zoning, we're talking about code compliance and building safety and a number of different areas. There's a whole revenue development area that includes the CDC that we talked about before that can help out a number of folks. And there's more out there that we need to try to go after, grants and other ways of trying to help out some of the residents in the city. The CDC has done some of those cleanups. I think Pat made mention of one in his neighborhood. That has happened, but like we said, there's lots of areas like that in the city that need some attention, so we can go through that. Streets falls under Public Works, so you'll hear about that the following week, along with water and sewer. As alluded to by the city manager, our water department is what I refer to as quasi-municipal. It sort of falls under the city, but it is a separate district. So the city council serves as the board of directors of the water district, but it only takes up about a third of the actual city. The rest of the city is served by Arizona Water Company. So you will learn a little bit about that. When we talk about utility, the sewer district, as we said before, is completely separate from the city of Apache Junction at this point. There has been discussions, and will probably continue to be discussions in the future, of bringing the water and sewer districts into the city proper as municipal departments, like many cities do. That is not the case here yet, could be someday. The next week is Paws and Claws. That's, of course, our animal control area, falls under the police department. It resides over on Baseline, just east of Idaho. If you're not familiar, you will learn all about that, along with the police department and our city attorney, whose office is right over here. They will tell you all about what's going on there. We will get a visit from the superintendent of schools. The Apache Junction Unified School District is not part of the city. Again, completely separate. Some cities, big cities, they are connected. We are obviously connected to them because they are all of our residents. We have staff who live here, whose children go there, there's so many connections between the school district and the city. Parks and Recreation and the library will also come on that week as well. We will continue with the city attorney, the city clerk, and we'll give you a little bit of an overview of some of the other community partners that we have, nonprofits, the Chamber of Commerce, and other folks during that last week. After that, as long as everybody can attend, and I'm going to give everybody a little bit of leeway. As long as you get to 6 or 7 of the 8 classes, I'm going to be fine with, especially since we'll be able to see some of those on video. You are also asked to attend at least one city council and one planning and zoning meeting sometime in the next 3 months, even UTES, and that is one of the requirements for graduation. And so after the class completes in May, we will pick a city council meeting to all gather again where we will award certificates of graduation. I make sure everybody gets a nice polo shirt. And the mayor acknowledges all of the graduates at a city council meeting. Try to do a little photo op of some sort as well. That. Pam. So planning and zoning is sort of the opposite Tuesdays. It's the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. City council meetings, remember, work sessions, the first and third Mondays of every month, and the regular council meetings, the first and third Tuesdays of every month. So I will send out a schedule of everything so you guys can know when to come. So for example, next week, no work session on Monday. Monday's a holiday, but there will be a regular city council meeting next Tuesday. You are welcome to attend. The following meeting, just FYI, that first meeting in February, we will likely have last year's CLI group. They're going to come and do the photo op and get their certificates. They were obviously delayed because the class last spring got interrupted, and so we ended up resuming the class in November so we could finish it up, and they did get done before the holiday break. All right, so that is what we're facing. That's what you're facing. I think this is a very cool class because it's coming from a lot of different places. A lot of times we have folks in here who have either been here a long time or have a certain interest in a particular area, but it sounds like this group has a little bit more than that on their minds, so we'll see how that goes going forward. I absolutely encourage you to ask questions and call me if there's something going on or you're not sure about something, or certainly if something comes up and you know ahead of time that you can't make it, just let me know so I'm not waiting for you. I am going to send you a couple of things that the city manager mentioned, so you should look for that first thing in the morning. But if, like I said, and even if you have someone in your circle that is interested and thinks they're too late because they missed the first night, have them call me, have them contact me. We'll get them in. There'll be plenty of room for everybody, and we'll get them on the roster, and we'll get them the link to this first class. Sienna. Mm-hmm.
So I could do a virtual.
Cool.
Would I be able to?
Yes, so here's our plan, and we had one person who was scheduled to do that tonight, and then they had an emergency, so they could not. We are live streaming the class through YouTube. We will send that YouTube link out right before the class each week, or each class session, so it doesn't get lost out there, or people start to get in. Try to keep it a private link. And what we can do is you can watch the class in real time on YouTube, and on the side is the chat box. And the chat box, you can type in questions for the instructor that particular night. I'll be sitting over here with my laptop, and we'll relay any questions that you might have. So everyone is encouraged to do that if they see fit, for whatever reason, whether you just feel safer at home, whether you need to stay at home for any particular night, you're welcome to do it that way. That is our plan. The other thing, of course, is, like I said, we're recording all the classes, so if you need to go back and make up a class, you can do it that way too. Obviously, if you're watching live, then you can ask questions. If it's after the fact, write down the questions and then email them to me. Other questions? Anybody have some concerns? The final is really hard, I have to tell you. Really should, buy the organizer a Dutch Brothers. No, I don't really need Dutch Brothers, actually.
I went to a meeting yesterday for the
Planning and zoning. Yes, you know what? That counts, because you were there. Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Can you vouch for her? I was going to say, I could go back to the tape and make sure she was there. Did you? Yeah, Daryl already knows. Oh, what did she say, Daryl? No, I'm not going to go to that. Oh. Now we're going to see. Jeff. You get that spot. I appreciate all of you signing up and coming down and being part of this and your interest in the city. As many people have told you, we do. We live for our volunteers, for our residents, for the folks that are in our community, because that's who we serve and that's who we do everything for. And we're trying to do the best we can, and we always can do better. So that's part of what this all is. And hopefully all of you will be able to get through the class, and who knows, we might just see you on this dais right here at some point too. All right, everybody have a very safe trip home, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Good night.